This just in, breaking news from the rock fight. In a stunning development that has rocked core outdoor enthusiasts from Midtown Manhattan to Sand Hill Road, Planet Earth, the primary shareholder, has announced its intention to divest all holdings in polyester-based outdoor brands. Sources close to the Planet report increasing frustration and complaints that the relationship had become toxic. It's not a great look for me to be associated with billions of dollars of brightly colored jackets that shed enough microfibers to choke a pod of whales, Earth said in a filing statement. It's unknown how this will affect larger markets, but it's rumored Mars is exploring a long overdue decoupling from Elon Musk.
All right, while that may not be true, you know what is true? Ibex Merino is as home in your shop as socks and sandals. We're talking authentic heritage, real sustainability, privately owned, and of course, premium performance that has become legendary. From everyday essentials like the goat tee to expedition-ready pieces like the mammoth hoodie, Ibex has a premium merino layer ready to outfit any of your customers. Schedule some time with the Ibex team at GOA Connect in Kansas City this November. Ibex Premium Merino, not polyester. Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin, and today we're headed to Title IX's Pitchfest with Shawnté Salabert. But first, some programming reminders. We never want you to miss an episode of The Rock Fight, so please click follow on the podcast app you're using right now. Make sure to come back on Monday for another all-new episode of The Rock Fight. And then on Thursday, head to the Gear Abbey podcast feed for a new episode of Gear Abbey with host Shawnté Salabert, today's guest here on The Rock Fight. Gear Abbey answers all of your burning outdoor questions, so make sure you're following that podcast as well. And if you have a question for Gear Abbey, send it to her at deargearabby@gmail.com. Hopefully you'll hear us read it on the show. And lastly, if you want more from The Rock Fight, head to rockfight.co and sign up for News from the Front, our semi-weekly newsletter. This past week, we sent out a very brief newsletter with one question. If you missed it, you should subscribe to it so you don't miss other fun questions like that in the future. So head to rockfight.co, sign up for News from the Front, and if you want to send us an email, drop it to myrockfight@gmail.com. And I think that's all the programming reminders we have. Let's get into today's episode, which is about Title IX. And Title IX has been making women's and athletic outdoor clothing since it was founded in 1989 by Missy Park. And I don't think that people realize how groundbreaking that is, okay? As long as there's been an outdoor industry, there's been the reality that it's an industry largely for white dudes, right? A long-running criticism of our outdoor world is how do we welcome others into it? And how do we get brands to make stuff for women and people of different sizes? So for Title IX to come along looking to buck that trend before the 1980s were over is pretty incredible. I mean, think of this. In 1989, the North Face Denali was 1 year old. North Face had not yet released the Lotse. Arc'teryx was founded in 1989, but wouldn't release its first apparel piece for, I think, close to 9 more years after that. In 1989, we hadn't even seen four-way stretch fabrics like Power Stretch Pro, and Patagonia's Regulator collection wouldn't arrive for the better part of another decade. Title IX predates all of those things that we refer to as outdoor industry icons, and yet the conversation around a more equitable outdoors persists to this day. Now, one effort that Title IX and Missy have done to help on that front is the creation of Pitchfest in 2018. Now, Pitchfest is an event that takes place over the course of 2 days where female entrepreneurs are given the chance to pitch their brand to a panel of judges, with the winners getting a Title IX purchase order, as well as marketing and support mentorship. Former winners include folks like Nara and Scenic. So some brands that you have heard here mentioned on the podcast are winners of Pitchfest. And we'll often hear brands talk about the things that should be done in the outdoor industry. And Pitchfest is an example of a brand putting their money and time where their mouth is. So to find out more about the event itself and what went down at the 2025 edition, we're bringing in our own Shawnté Salabert, who had a chance to head to Northern California and take in the event. Of course, you know Shawnté from her time on The Rock Fight, and she is also the host of Gear Abbey here on the Rock Fight Podcast Network. Shawnté has been a journalist in the outdoor industry for a long time, and she is the perfect correspondent for this topic. So let's get into it. Welcome back to The Rock Fight, where today it's all things Pitchfest with Shawnté Salabert, and that's coming up right after a few words from our sponsors. Winter is unpredictable. It's mild one week, it's freezing the next. I grew up in the mid-Atlantic, and every inch of snow was exciting until it would melt into a soupy mess And then to make things worse, it would refreeze on the driveway, making walking across said driveway totally impossible. Going outside becomes its own adventure in the winter, and that includes choosing what to wear. And that's why people have trusted Fjällräven jackets for more than 50 years. Born and tested in Sweden, they're made to handle everything from everyday cold to true Arctic extremes. The philosophy's simple: build outerwear that performs, protects, and lasts. In 50 years, guys, I just turned 50. So I am now one Fjällräven old. From the Keb Gore-Tex jacket to the Expedition pack-down hoodie, you'll find something to suit the winter conditions you know are on the way for your neck of the woods. And retailers, do you want to see some of the best winter jackets you should be carrying in your shop? Schedule an appointment with Fjällräven at GOA Connect in Kansas City this November. The rest of you, check out fjällräven.com. Listen, everybody, adventure is calling you. Are you ready to answer? Because coming early in November, Lems is dropping a bold new lineup of minimalist boots and trail runners built to go wherever the season takes you. Meet your new trail companions, the Trail Thrasher and Trailblazer Mid. Engineered with tough, full rubber outsoles for serious grip and designed with an urban edge, they're made to move seamlessly from rugged backcountry treks to city streets. These are just two of the many new styles hitting the Lems lineup soon, just the latest additions to the lineup of the best-fitting shoes you've ever worn. And hey, retailers, again, be sure to go see the Lems team when they exhibit at GOA's Discovery Marketplace at the Connect Show in Kansas City this November. All right, Shawnté Salabert is back on the Rock Fight where she belongs. She got all full of crazy thoughts, went and started her own podcast and left us behind here at the Rock Fight. Now she's Gear Abby and she's tearing up the outdoor media scene. Now she's back to spend some time with us. Welcome back, Shawnté.
Aw, it's so nice to be back where it all began. It's all your fault, really. I mean, if you hadn't answered my email a year ago saying, I'll be your Gear Abby.
That's true.
We might still be doing Wednesdays talking about people setting records you don't care about.
All right, listen. Okay, we're talking Title IX. All right, Pitchfest 2025. You were there. I gave a whole overview of what Pitchfest is. Pitchfest, actually, shockingly hard to say. Pitchfest.
Pitchfest. Is it as hard to say as Garage GGG?
Apparently, it is easier to say that based on how you just said it. Well, let's get into why this thing matters, all right? So you've been around the outdoor industry and outdoor gear and apparel scene for a while now. Why do you think this event matters?
Yeah, I mean, I have, just for some listener context, because I don't know that we ever really talked about it deep on the Rock Fight. But yeah, I've been an outdoor journalist, writing about the outdoors and the industry itself, going to trade shows for probably about a decade or so. And I remember walking into my very first OR and it felt like wading into an ocean of white men wearing flannel. Like, I don't think anybody would deny that was the experience. The fabric vendors were men, the speakers were men, the publicists were men, the sponsored athletes, the brand reps. Like in that moment, I just realized, this all tracks because when I would go into an outdoor shop, like I remember looking for mountaineering boots. I was going to get into ice climbing and I wanted to start doing more winter objectives. And I'd go to shops, and at the time, we still had quite a few outdoor shops in Southern California. And I would go, and even in the Eastern Sierra, you go out, and they never had the women's. It was always the men's, and the sales rep would be like, "Oh, try on the men's, and then you can always just size down and get a smaller men's boot." I'm like, why isn't there a boot for me, and why can't? And I know they exist, but why can't I get to it? And so it's like, it all made sense. It's like this ecosystem that was just populated by dudes. And oh man, but yeah, I remember just thinking that. And when I started writing about the outdoors and specifically the outdoor industry, I was searching for those stories that weren't just this homogenous, one size fits all, one person fits all. And so what I like about Pitchfest, I remember hearing about it launched back in 2018. And it's basically, you've got what is arguably the largest women's sportswear retailer pouring resources, that's money, time, expertise, into brands designed by, founded by, run by, and made by and for women. Right. And that to me is just, that's the special sauce right there, is that, this is the 8th season. And after I tallied up this year's, they did this for me. They did the math, Colin. I was not mathing this. I did not have access.
You're fighting a cold. You can't be asked to do math.
I can't even when I'm feeling 100%. That is not my, I'm a writer, man.
I'm a word person, thank you, not a
Thank
number
you.
person.
I can
Okay.
write out the numbers as long as you'd like me to, but counting them, no. No, but they told me, basically they've had close to somewhere between like 70 and 90 brands participating over the years, 34 winners out of those. And even the brands that don't make it to the winner's circle, they're not getting the guaranteed like purchase orders and things like that. They are still getting ongoing support and this amazing community of fellow business women, because T9 does this maker. Can I just call them T9? Are we going to do that now?
Sure, we'll do T9 as long as they're okay with it. T9's way easier than just saying it every time.
T9. No, I'll probably say Title 9.
The 9th Terminator movie.
Exactly. Arnold just keeps going.
Just keeps going.
He will be back, and then again, 8 more times. But they have this thing called the Makers and Movers Network, and so if you can even see it, you go to their website. They've got a whole special dedicated section on there. But so I think most people listening to Rock Fight are familiar with Title IX. You go to their
Sure.
website. It's not just their in-house brand, which is a really great brand. I mean, the one and only pair of soft shell pants I've ever liked on my body was a Title IX pair of soft shells. But yeah, you go up there and it's like you've got the brands that win, and brands like Scenic, Wild Rye, things like that, Alpine Fit, and you could see the success. Like I was talking to Tina and Madison from Scenic while I was there, and they're a year in. They won last year, and they're like, we can't even quantify like how much this has changed our business just having
Right.
the support. But even the brands that don't win are part of this whole movement. And to me, that's magic. They're not just like, all right, you losers, get out of here. Go home. They still are plugged in. And some of them come back and they pitch again. Like,
That's pretty cool.
It's super cool. Like, that's how much of a supportive environment it is.
I want to just drive home to the listeners how important this is. And as an old guy in the industry, who was definitely part of the problem that Shawnté highlighted at the her first outdoor retailer, this is not a new problem, and it's the thing. If I have a kind of a beef in general with the industry is we have very short memories around here, and it's like we're on like an 8-year kind of like it in dairy kind of like kind of thing that circles back around and things just start repeating themselves. You go back to the 1990s and things like snooze and whatever, and you'll find the exact same commentary on the industry happening then as it's happening today, and then you fast forward through the decades and the years after that, not a lot of solutions to that point. I mean, you started going in the 2000s, like people were talking about these things 10 years before you started showing up at Outdoor Retailer. So to see sort of the ball finally getting pushed forward here, and the fact where you can say, hey, there are actually 70, 80, other women's founders out there who we didn't even recognize because they didn't maybe win. And I'm sure some of them aren't around anymore, but some of them I'm sure still are.
Absolutely.
Like, that's amazing, right? So the support network is what you need. I guess the next thing I was curious about is what surprised you then in your conversations with the organizers, or even the participants as you kind of walked the event and sort of were able to kind of step back and look at this with all that in mind of what your background is here. What was the kind of your key takeaways or surprises being at the event?
Oh yeah, I mean, from just thinking about the organization itself, I was like, I kind of want to quit my job and go work at Title IX. The headquarters is super awesome. They do like daily workouts that are optional, and they intentionally don't schedule meetings or calls during that time, which is really neat. But anyway, like I got the chance to go for, it ended up being like over an hour-long walk with Missy Park, who founded Title IX. We originally were slated in to play pickleball because apparently she's an absolute fiend.
Oh, no.
I know, but I'm so glad we didn't, because I had just done the workout that day. They have like an instructor come in, and it was, I went pretty hard. So I was like, oh yeah, a gentle, sweaty walk sounds nice. Don't mind me just sweating all over you as we walk. But what I loved, so the walk with Missy was absolutely illuminating, and it was honestly pretty inspiring. She said something I loved pretty early on in our conversation, and this is a quote. She said, "I'm not altruistic about this."
I love that.
And I know, and I loved it. I loved it on so many levels, because I think there's this thing that still exists where people see women-led initiatives as some sort of like optics cheerleading instead of a smart business move. And Missy is all business. She's not messing around. She is not in this for like happy, smiley, go lucky, whatever. She wants everybody to be better. She wants the industry to be better. So I mean, let's think about it in financial terms. The last 5 years of the event, not even counting this year, so 2020 to 2025, Pitchfest invested $1.7 million into the winners. And if you go back to the beginning of Title IX 30 years ago, the company has overall invested nearly $72 million into female entrepreneurs. I'm going to pause here. If this was a live event, a TED Talk, everyone would be clapping.
Yeah, that's very impressive. Murmur.
Yeah, and that's real money. And Missy's not just giving it away. This isn't a charity, right? The whole strategy is if you pour resources into women-run brands, you are increasing the number of women who own, who have capital, who have a real stake in the industry. That's good for Title IX as a business that is, caters to women. And it's good for all women. It's good for all aspects of the industry. She's essentially saying, like, screw the old boys club. We are investing in the future we want to see. Even if it doesn't exist yet, we are going to damn well put all our resources into trying to make it exist.
But that's using capitalism in your favor, right? This is when we had Andrea Kelly on and talking about, plus sizes. And she's like, yeah, on the surface, there is a social reason why you should be doing this. But at the end of the day, hey, brands, you're leaving fucking money on the table by not doing it. This is another beef I have with the industry because everyone, and I get it, and I'm part of it too, of you get into the space because we love the things that we do and we love to go outside and you want to get this warm feeling from the industry that supports, your passions and whatnot. But at the end of the day, we're talking about billions of dollars in a capitalist-driven economy and brands and money and blah, blah, blah. And if you're going to try and do something based off of warm feelings alone, it might work for a hot second.
Yep.
But eventually, when you're maybe not making as much money, people are going to be like, do we really need to be doing that?
Right.
So to kind of, for Missy to say, this is doing well and doing good and the best kind of combination of both things, right?
Yep. Yeah, and that's how it has to be. I mean, think about all of the initiatives in this industry, especially in the last 5-10 years, that have been, quote, DEI focused, that just feel like window dressing. It was all bullshit.
And are all kind of wiped away now. No one's doing them
anymore.
They're
all wiped away. It just, because they couldn't frame it enough in the framework of capitalism, I guess. But, I loved that she said that. She's not bullshitting. She's just like, listen, we have to make money. We have to have a business that makes money, but we want it to grow. And for us to grow, we want other women-owned businesses to grow. It's just, and what I like too, from the, I guess competitor or participant standpoints, they, what was interesting is that Pitchfest is a competition. You're pitching, there's 9 women up there. There was 11 women up there 'cause some of them were doubles, but, 2 women own the business, but they're up there pitching their business. They're trying to essentially get a purchase order and ongoing support from Title IX. But I talked to some of the women just kind of before the event that day, and most of them were like, it doesn't feel like a competition. I know we're going to get up there. We're pitching our brand. We're trying to win this thing. But it doesn't feel like we're in competition with these other women. It feels like we're part of something bigger than just us. Yeah. And that was the cool thing. It's like, I didn't really catch any salty feelings from the people who didn't win afterwards. And it doesn't mean that there weren't any, but
sure.
But it's this idea too, Title IX's not abandoning you, even if you don't win, but also you're now plugged into all these other women founders. And so, some of the women were talking about how they get on calls now and they've got this built-in community where they're like, oh, I've got another woman founder I can talk to about tariffs, or, I could talk to somebody else about vendor issues, things like that. And it's like you suddenly have created this thing that, we talk about the old boys club.
Yeah.
Well, now we have a new kind of club. And if you're not going to let us into your club that has existed since time immemorial, we are going to just create our own. Screw the seat at the table. We're building a new table. And I loved it.
Okay, so then after all of that, how did being at Pitchfest then play into your feelings about the broader industry trends? All those kind of feelings from those original days of you going out to a retailer, was it more of a yes and experience, more of a we're still not doing enough experience, something in between? Where do you sit today after going to see this?
I mean, I think as a broader industry, hell no, we're not doing enough. You cannot look around this unless maybe you're just a happy white guy in a Patagonia vest, raking in all the money off of the rest of us. You can't look around and say, this is enough. We're good. No, Pitchfest exists and Pitchfest is amazing. And I've learned over the years about brands I didn't know about through Pitchfest. I remember learning about Wild Rye and in the earlier days, but I'm thinking here, when I think about ways for the outdoor industry, I really still think they're fully behind the eight ball in servicing all humans that get outside. Like in so many ways, the money is left on the table. And I'm probably going to double up on some of the stuff that, Andrea said when you talked with her.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about two of the brands. One was a winner, one wasn't. So the winner I'm thinking of is LuxFit, company founded by Charlene Assam that makes sports bras for larger chests. So like roughly D to J cups. And she said something in her presentation I think a lot of people can relate to when they're shopping for outdoor clothing and gear that works for their bodies. She's like, we started this company from a place of pain. Think about that for a second. Women are out here responding to the fact that there are not things in this giant, very, well-funded marketplace that work for them. And saying like, there's not something out here. I mean, she was just saying she would have to wear multiple bras, just like a lot of people with bigger chests do, or multiple pieces of clothing to offer that compression. And you'd think this would have a solve at this point. I'm somebody who's just outside of that size range on the smaller side. And I have maybe one sports bra out of like at least a dozen that I own that I think kind of fits, kind of works, and kind of looks decent.
Yeah.
It's shocking to me at this point. So I think about who's designing things. So who is designing, and are they designing for the actual issues we want to solve? Are they designing for real bodies? I cannot tell you, as somebody with a booty, how many times I go into a store and I try on a 10 or a 12 in pants and they still don't fit. I try on a large and they don't fit. If they do, they're way too big on the waist because people still haven't discovered that a lot of women have hips, And on that note, there's a brand that didn't win, Thicket, which was founded by Arwen Turner and Kara Hardman. And so the two of them met at an Unlikely Hikers event. And if you're not familiar, Unlikely Hikers, one of the things they do is host events that are truly inclusive, for people of all sizes, backgrounds, abilities, experience levels. And the two of them were like, let's try to create something like a technical pant that would work for bigger bodies. That's not a freaking legging. Right. Because if like a lot of my friends who are in larger bodies, they're like, leggings are the only thing that fits. I can't find pants that are cargo pants or with pockets or whatever that are made to be, outdoors, made to be sweat in, made to withstand UV, stuff like that. So the cool thing, what I loved about what they did is they created pants, and they have right now just one pant, the Brecken pant, and it's got two styles. So one style accommodates bigger bellies, one style accommodates bigger butts. And I was like, that's great. That's genius, because the human body is not just there's not just one sample size, And I love during their presentation, this goes to what Andrea was saying, they said 4 out of 5 Americans wear plus size. The outdoor industry is just catering to 20%.
That is fact, by the way.
What the fuck? It's ridiculous. And, they said to Title IX, they kind of looked directly at the panel of judges and they were like, listen, what we learned in all of they did like on social media polling, they had 1,300 responses, I think. What we learned is that people don't trust most mainstream brands because they don't trust that they can walk into a store or order from a catalog, even if it says it's their size, and that it'll actually fit their bodies. And like, bring us on to the Title IX family, and you're going to expand, your consumer base, and again, appealing to the business end of things. And I just, from all of this, it goes back again to that idea of leaving people behind and leaving money on the table. And it's frustrating for me that this deep in that we don't have that. So, it was just something I thought about out there. And here's women saying there are all these pain points, and screw you. If you're not going to design for them, I will.
It goes back to, people just aren't honest about kind of where they are, the position in the world. In fact, it was a terrible statement. He shouldn't have made it. The guy is frankly pretty gross. We just talked about in the Rock Fight recently. The one guy who was ever honest about this was Chip Wilson from Lululemon when he said that maybe some people shouldn't be wearing our products.
I remember
wrong thing to say. It was the wrong thing for dick move. But everybody else is trying to kind of have that mentality while not actually saying it. Right? It's like, we're focused on innovation. Like, are you? Are you focused on innovation? Because innovation to me is solving problems. And you seem to have solved a lot of problems for your initial core constituency, which was entitled white men who wanted to climb mountains.
Right.
They're all covered. You're good. So for a Patagonia, a North Face, people who have deep pockets, if you want to continue the innovation conversation, if you want to say you want to welcome more people into the outdoor club, then don't be like Chip and say that's where we are, because that's effectively what you're doing by not offering these kinds of products. And I'm not saying that those don't, I'm not familiar with the product lines. Maybe there are some things in those product lines, but they're the ones who could really make a change here. And in fact, it's being put down then on the folks like this who are getting started, and it's great, and these solutions need to come up, but it's hard to be a founder, and it's hard. You need this money and the support from something like a Pitchfest. It's just...
You do. That's why it's such a great program. There's not, we need more Pitchfest. We need more versions of Pitchfest. Like, there's only so much. I mean, Title IX can't pour their entire bottom line into Pitchfest.
Exactly.
So it's like, who else is going to step up and fund innovation and true innovation where you expand, the possibilities of what's out there? Because the thing is, like, somebody like Kara and Arwen can design these pants, but, they can only manufacture so many without then having to grow there. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, there's everybody, they talked about, like, even when you're doing the Pitch Fest, they're asking, like, all right, how many SKUs do you have? How do you have, relationships with your vendors? How do you want to grow your business? Like, there's so many little bitty parts. Like, what are your pain points in your business right now that they're, asking during their pitches? And it's, even watching that, you're like, man, it is an uphill road for anybody to start a brand, but especially one where you're filling a niche that has always been ignored.
And a lot of the loudest voices in the industry, not necessarily that represent the broader industry, will sit there and tell you that the industry is all about the core. We got to get back to the core, which is, we see for the latest participation numbers from the OIA, is like 3 to 5% of the people that go outside. Mm-hmm. And so you have all this gatekeeping by people who want to be like, kind of control the narrative of who goes outside.
Yep.
When it's like, no, the bottom line is more people will have a healthier lifestyle. Like Darren Josie was talking about it, that this is healthcare.
Right.
This is you having a healthier life and maybe reducing a medication that you have to take on a monthly basis, or reducing doctor's visits or whatever, just because you're living a healthier lifestyle, and you need to enable people to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, it was interesting because even something, Kara and Arwen were saying is that they'd heard from a scientist who'd gotten a really cool job that they had to travel for, and they were going to be out in the field, and they were feeling really bummed because they're like, I cannot find a technical pant that will fit my body, and I might not be able to take this field assignment because I need something that's going to be able, and they're like, I cannot wear leggings out to wherever it was, the Antarctic or something. And they're like, hey, our pants would probably work for you. And they did. And it's like, that's right there, real world stuff. And I don't know. Yeah. Why fund innovation? I mean, Missy's whole thing is like, put money into it.
Like NARA, I can't believe is still like not huge. I'm like it's just like you built a better mousetrap. Like you look at what the zipper system on NARA, and it's like, oh yeah, this is the way it always should have been. Like, why is this not,
it's like, genius.
How is this not like everywhere now? And it's still like, Gigi's still out there like doing the founders thing and pounding the pavement. But yeah, well, to get off a little the more heady stuff, let's get into the specifics of what you saw. So what did you see from those who were pitching though that got you excited? We talked about a few things, but like what else was there on display for you to, kind of get jazzed up about?
Oh, yeah. Another one that I really loved, and they didn't win, but it's Birdie Blue, started by Kate Harvey. And from a sustainability perspective, to talk about apparel is just a vast wasteland of waste, right? There's so much waste created in the apparel industry. So they partner with clothing companies and places like ski resorts, and they take that textile waste, whether it's, old jackets or, it's a lot of old jackets, as it turns out, bibs, whatever. They turn it into these really sharp bags, and they've done collaborations at this point with companies like Stio and Burton, NARA, actually. They're doing a current collaboration with the U.S. ski team, Turtle Fur. I loved that. I loved that the bags looked really great, but I also love this idea of saying, okay, this stuff we really can do something with this. And they get these materials for free, I think, for, if not all, for most of these people, because it's just waste from the cutting floor and things like that. So
that's awesome.
I loved that. It was like, we definitely need more of that. I also really like, speaking of NARA, there was a company there, All Over Apparel, founded by Emma Ross, and she was inspired by like River Guides overalls and created these overalls that are a little more of almost like a soft shell overall, I'd say. And they have side zip. And so the side zip is designed so you could kind of pull it all over to the side for peeing. So different kind of zipper. So we've got now 2 zipper innovations happening in the overalls world, or in the outdoor, the pants, like, what am I trying to say,
I don't know.
There's so much peeing, so many zippers, so many options. But yeah, so I liked that. I thought that was pretty cool. Of course, one of the earlier Pitchfest, you got Dovetail, one of my like hardcore favorites. I'm very happy. This is so dorky, but it's overall season now. It's cooled down.
You know how
bit.
I feel about overalls. So
I know that's why Andrew from Liveson, if you're listening, you just have to force Colin into a pair. Like maybe
I will be
TRE.
forced. Like you'll be holding me down and putting them on my body.
Listen, there's enough of us at TRE. If we get a pair, Andrew, send them to me. I'll get together with Owen and Dave at TRE, and we'll just corner Colin, and we'll take each one leg, one arm, and put him.
Guys, I can't help it if I just have a superb taste. Okay, above everybody else. I'm sorry.
Whatever. I freaking love overalls. Anyway, I'd say one more that I want to mention that there were so many. One of the other ones, and this was actually one of the winners, is a company called Tobic, TOBIQ. They've been around for a bit, run by Mel Franson, founded by Mel. And I love, they're just they're bags with tons of compartments. And it was, I think, the collective, that everybody uttered when she had a roller bag and she showed us how the whole top of it detaches to become a backpack. And everybody was just like, wow. And if there's something women love, it's pockets.
What about, you mentioned a few, expose yourself via zippers to pee, but were there enough backcountry bathroom products from your point of view? You're a big fan of the backcountry bathroom product.
Ever.
Yeah.
I love a backcountry bathroom. No, funny enough, one of the
Pitchfest Poop Edition, hosted by Shawnté Salabert.
Listen, call me Missy. One of my favorite, I love that they had Kula cloths in the swag. I was like, yeah, I have so many Kula cloths at this point, but listen, I love a pee accessory. What can I say?
All right. So let's look out 5-10 years.
Okay.
You attended Pitchfest in 2025 and you're looking ahead. How optimistic are you that we will be closer to a sort of, a more equitable outdoor industry? Are we on the path, even if it's stupidly delayed path, but are we on the path?
It's a slow path. It's a long path. It's, I still feel, I feel like we're still a ways out from really understanding. I go
that's
back
not what I wanted you to say, but okay.
Sorry, dude. I do.
I was all excited.
We're
like, yeah, we're on the path.
No, Colin. No, we're on the path, but it's a slow path. And Missy and I actually talked about that for quite a bit on our walk. And she said something that I think really hits at this. And she said, I think what changes it is when women start to own all the tools of capital. And it goes back to that whole Title IX ethos where it's kind of their catchphrase is they believe women need to own, risk, and lead. And so for real change to happen, and, there's a ton of brands, women-led, women-founded brands that have gone through Title IX and through Pitchfest. But for real change to happen, that capital, that ownership of capital in the industry needs to shift to better represent all people.
Right.
You've got to have more Indigenous representation. You've got to have bodies of all sizes. You've got to have people who are disabled out there. You've got to have people from all backgrounds to say, like, listen, we deserve a stake in this too. We are going to own part of it, and we're going to create things that work for all of us. And so I think that until really that capital starts shifting a little bit more toward being more equitably dispersed so that real innovation can happen by people who are actually invested in it, who know the change that it can create. I think change will continue to be kind of slow, honestly. Sorry for my sad answer.
I don't know. I think it's an honest answer,
Yeah, I do think that's the reality. And I think if there's, a single person listening to today's episode that hears that and says, I know that people think about this. I know that people want to do good, but most of the time we get this kind of tokenism bullshit where it's like, I've got a Black person in my ad, or I put a woman on our board, and it's like, cool, we need more. Like, that's not enough. Yeah, we do need to be running shit. And so I'm with you, Missy.
If I had to make a prediction, it's going to be all this work coming, especially from the female side of things, especially on plus sizes. And then all the brands will see that and they'll come out with like plus size stuff for men.
God, okay, we're looking at it.
You're like, yeah, I know, that's great, thank you. They need it too, but Jesus Christ, we have like.
Do you see he's already doing the work?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, I hope. I want to see. Let's get the money out there, y'all. Let's let the money flow.
All right. Well, thank you for going. Thank you for coming back and reporting. And we can't wait to see you back over on Gear Abbey.
I'll be there every single week with you, but I'll be in the driver's seat that time.
Damn it. See, we are on the path.
We are. See, exactly. I'm about to own the Capitol, so watch out, Rock Fight.
All right, that's the show for today. Thanks to my guest, Shawnté Salabert. Make sure you're following Gear Abby to hear more Shawnté. And I'm on that show too, but mostly we're listening to it for Shawnté. The Rock Fight's a production of Rock Fight LLC. I'm Colin True. Thank you for listening. And here to take us out's our guy, Krista Makes, with the Rock Fight Fight song. We'll see you next time, Rock Fighters.
Rock Fight.